Figured I'd show you guys the workbench. I'm kind of, oh, maybe phase two. I don't know. I don't know what you want to call it, but essentially started on the workbench after my dad passed in August to kind of come to grips with it and I guess all that kind of jazz. So still got quite a bit of work actually left to do. I want to get shelves put up top. I've got those out in the front yard, so I'll get those put up top. I like my little hangers there for my magnetic thing, and a couple of magnetic things I have there hanging off the thing. But anyway, got the pegboard in, got it arranged pretty good. So figured I'd walk you guys through. Whoever wants to watch this anyway. So essentially I got my levels up right. So I got my 4 foot level, 2 foot level. I've got my little level down there. I actually got a string level over there in that thing. So basically that's kind of where my levels are at. Got my screwdrivers over here, Phillips and Standards, my little flashlight hanging, my little stubbies that I use all the time, a couple of hammers here, a rock hammer, rubber mallets, just a 16 ounce, and I think that's a 20 ounce, more of a framing hammer type of thing there, and then that's just a little Chinese hammer, paint can opener, the obligatory pipe wrench, all that kind of stuff. This thing here is pretty cool. This is something I picked up on Amazon. It's actually a little pliers holder. It's really pretty cool. It's got little pockets inside there, and you just put your pliers in there and thump. My only problem is I got a whole bunch of these Cobalt ones with the big thick handles, and they don't all fit in there. And as you can see, the widths of those kind of graduate down. So I actually could use another one at some point because this angled needle nose doesn't really fit in there. Got a bunch of electrical here. At some point I'm going to have electrical all along this, but I've got to put another circuit breaker in for that. Earplugs what we use for both the guns when we're shooting, and a few of the things around here really are loud, so some of my other equipment, so I'll make sure I use those. Just got your assorted miscellaneous bin with all sorts of things in it. So, just your basic stuff, some fence pieces, some Shopsmith stuff, just screws and stuff. Got some casters. I got a box down here somewhere that I need to put those on. But anyway, I got some nice casters I got off Amazon. The little towel rack, or paper towel rack I'm going to make for the bench. So some just different stuff. Got my chisels, use those a lot. My wood marker. Of course, my little angle thingy, I've used it a few times here lately. Little dovetail marker. And then over here I have my planes. So I've got a little jack plane that my dad had, his little Stanley from years and years ago. Kind of did a little restoration on it, but honestly I need to get the knife on it sharpened, and I got to get the bottom of it planed sanded down smooth. I don't know how good it is. The top one up there is something I probably bought when I was, I don't know, 15 years old. Had that thing for a long time. It's just a little block plane. Again, I did need to get the knife sharpened on it and get the bottom all flattened out. So got a little bit of work to do on those. Got just your basic stuff up here. Over here is kind of where some of my setup is. So I got my speed square, my regular, whatever you want to call that square. Here's where I actually like these little rack things. I got a couple of those. So I got a rack there, and I got a rack over here. The rack over here's got a couple of my tape measures, depending on what I want to use. I got two of them. I got a Lufkin and a Stanley. The Stanley, it actually stays open when you pull it open without pushing the button. The Lufkin doesn't, of course. But I do kind of like to use the Stanley sometimes when I'm measuring a lot. The Lufkin is a really good, great, very high vis tape measure, and everything is really good. The only thing is, you have to hit the lock button to get it to stay. So I'm a little lazy. I use the Stanley, but that's fine for most of the stuff. I've got my calipers and my two machinist squares. Essentially my card scrapers, which are nice. I actually got some curved ones back behind there, but you can see the rectangle one. Some tool setup stuff here. So basically Setting your depth gauges for your table saw router. I've got some more tool setup stuff in here for some 1, 2, 3 blocks and just some machinist stuff I have. Got those mallets that I made. So there's my detail mallet and my mortise and tenon mallet, I guess you want to call it that. Another little jig I made down here that allows me to make little thin cuts off a table saw. It's kind of actually pretty nifty. Also keeps you from getting kicked back. A bunch of just assorted screws and bolts and stuff that I already overflowed from this thing. So got a bunch of those. Scrap wood that I'm using for Cheryl's. Still need to finish off Cheryl's jewelry box one of these days. Hopefully during the coronavirus outbreak, maybe I'll get a chance to do that. I don't know. Just some putty knives, assorted chemicals and stuff, which I'm not real keen about having them actually in the wood, but I don't know. They're not too bad there, but that's kind of my little corner thing that I built, and so it's kind of got shelves like that I just put in with the Krieg down here. So your pocket hole screws, I'm really liking that. Basically, you get your little floating shelves. I mean, I certainly could have screwed from the back, but I do like the little pocket screws. Be doing some more floating shelves inside the house. Of course, I'll probably paint those, but I do like the fact that you can essentially just mount something and you can actually plug those holes. Probably a little bit better on thicker pieces of wood versus 1/2 inch because you can actually get some dowels in there. But anyway, so basically those three are all pocket holed, and then over here I've got my fences. So I get my fence for my table saw, my bandsaw. I've got the Shopsmith guard over here. I don't really use that. I do sometimes, but I don't really use that a whole lot. I should. Anyway, there's reasons for that. One of them is because I have a really good crosscut carriage, or whatever it's called. It's a crosscut sled that I made over there. It actually has its own guard. So I don't really need that at all if I'm using the crosscut. That's I'll probably do 90% of my cutting on that. So that's big enough I can actually do some small rips and stuff. I don't make a whole lot of gigantic stuff yet, I guess. Anyway, wrenches, essentially standard and metric. So these are really nice because these are actually got the ratchet ends on the box stand, and then of course these are just your regular ones down here, and then over here on this side is my saws. Sandpaper that I use the crap out of, basically just your basic saws over here that I also use a lot. So I try to put all of my stuff that I need a lot kind of out to the side so that I can actually get to it. Some of this stuff's a little harder for me to reach, so I don't use the putty knives a whole lot, right? I don't use the scroll saw and carving stuff a whole lot, although there'll be periods when I do, right? But I can put it over there. Glue, if I'm gluing something up, I have used a lot of glue, but I just kind of put that up in there today. It did help out a little bit. Anyway, I got some wood down here, like I said, some wood for her jewelry box. Got a big old piece of Osage there, some scrap plywood all over the place, and just all sorts of stuff underneath here. I probably need a little bit better organization. Anyway, here's a bunch of scrap wood. Got some more Osage in there, walnut. Oh geez, I don't know, hickory, maple. There's a big piece of curly maple there on top. So I'll have to do something at all those. Basically, I've got all these little totes you can get from those. I cut some of the pegs off just so it'll slide in and out okay. And basically that's my storage underneath here is basically those. Got power tools in there. I've got a couple of really high priced jigs, Dremel stuff in here. Got my 3M respirator in here, which I guess I'm gonna hang on to because again, coronavirus stuff. So I do need to wash this one though. Guess I'll take that and put it up in the washer. Just stuff. There's push box, feather box. There's my Dremel there with its little plunge thing, which is kind of nice. And then over here, at least for the time being, I've got my two tools I probably use the most: my screw gun, drill, and my sander for sure. My little hand sander. Or I guess I actually bought that for Cheryl a few years back. And I do have my vise here, which I like, but I do need to improve some stuff on this. I would like to have one that mounts flush to this. This one kind of drops down. It's actually meant to fit up underneath the 2x4s, and that's kind of how it's set. And so I have it there, and it is nice to have, but it does get to be a pain if I have to like cut wood really short or something like that. So one of these days I'll probably buy another one that actually sits flush, and I'll put it over here. You can also see over here I put a little tape measure in. I wouldn't mind epoxying the whole thing flat, but for now I just kind of put some couple of coats of poly on it. But essentially, I can just slap a board right up here. Got me a little tape measure, butt it up against the end of that little splash block back there, and basically make my marks and cut it off. So that's pretty cool. I do have a miter saw back behind here and a few other things. I'm actually going to take my miter saw and move it one of these days. And of course, I got my awesome sawhorses that I built. And a few other things. Still got a lot of work to do. We're making some headway. These things right here are going to be, essentially I'm going to have these mounted to the walls. I need to clean them up a little bit, but I'm going to mount at least two of these to this part. I might mount one over there. I don't really know, but essentially what this is going to be is a French cleat system. You can look that up on YouTube if you want to know really what that is. But what I'm going to end up doing is building a whole bunch of little shelves and holders and stuff to hold all the Shopsmith stuff kind of that Dad has down here at the bottom. I don't really like that board down there, and all that stuff flops around. So I'm going to end up taking that off. That's an aftermarket piece he bought years ago. I'm actually going to take that off, and then at some point after I get all this up here, the Shopsmith will roll up, fit up over here, and then all of its little parts that are scattered over here, it's those little carriages I built years ago that house pieces will all fit up underneath of it. So if I'm not using the Shopsmith, it'll be over here up against the wall. I'm going to try to move this thing, the Cobalt box over there, and switch it around with just a regular rack. Put a top on it, and then my chop saw that I have over here I'll mount on the top. So that's kind of it, I guess, for now. So still got a lot of work to do, a lot of organization to do. So I'll show more sometime, but anyway, spent a lot of time out here. See you.